My work is easy because
Salve, salve, meus crias! Tô só ajeitando umas coisas assim, cara, que eu achei que esse evento do 007 ele não ia acontecer agora. E fui pego de surpresa completamente. Então tô aqui só deixando aqui criando a thumb rapidinho enquanto eu tô com vocês. Já abri a live pra gente não perder o evento. Mas shit happens. Deixar ele bem ajeitado aqui. Pronto. Agora aqui. Aqui. Desculpa aí, tá, rapaziada? Realmente não é o comum, mas geralmente eu me programo certinho quando eu tenho algum tipo de cobertura que eu quero fazer. Mas realmente essa eu nem me lembrava que ela ia acontecer hoje. Nesse horário, aliás. Quer dizer, eu lembrava que aconteceu hoje, mas estava programado para mais tarde. Quem for chegando já sabe, deixa aquele salvezão, aquele salve aqui no chat. Salve, salve, Creed. Beleza, irmão? Porra, cara, Ô, Creed, eu fico chateado por ti, cara. Porque, porra, velho, tudo que é de ruim que acontece, tu não dá sorte, mano. Nessas coisas. É foda, velho. Porra, não sei nem o que te dizer, cara. Mas vamos esperar que eles arrumem, porque se tu tens o jogo, tu tens que receber, cara. É zoado os caras não te dar o jogo. Pô, eu tenho nas mesmas condições que tu também. Eu digo assim, a gente comprou no 360. Eu comprei o Red Dead no 360. Foi um dos primeiros jogos que eu comprei no Red Dead mesmo. E, cara, eu recebi normal ali pelo aplicativo. É zoado. Pronto, já tô botando aqui. Eu também acho, mano. Qualquer coisa, se eles não resolverem nos próximos dias, tem que entrar com suporte. Porque, pô, não tem sentido tu não receber. Se eu recebi, não tem sentido tu não receber. Não é aleatório que os caras estão dando update. Eles têm que dar pra todo mundo. Pô, ainda não começou aqui, cara. Que loucura. Tá ao vivo, mas não começou? Como assim? Será que tá passando no YouTube também isso aqui, cara? E realmente os caras aqui tão cagando pau. Na Twitch. Falaram que transmitir na Twitch. Deixa eu até ver se eu acho aqui no no YouTube. Nada a ver os caras... Nada a ver os caras botar isso só na Twitch também, velho. Porra, Yoi também é brincadeira, velho. Não estão fazendo. Quem tá na James Bond... Cara, que merda tá acontecendo aqui que não tá pegando na Twitch? Não vai, será? Ah, agora vai. Oh, sacanagem, hein, cara. Deixa eu botar na outra tela aqui pra vocês já aqui.
Ron pulled out his own wand. The club flew suddenly out of the troll's hand. There was a blinding flash of red light.
Que fuder.
Harry Potter, the full cast audio editions. Listen on Audible.
Tá bom, vai.
That location, but the people in charge
Aí,
would. So you can't bluff them in the same way.
Deixa eu ver se eu consigo botar numa tela
from like
cheia.
Hitman and Stealth, like you have many different ways to achieve your objective, but I also love how many
Pronto.
options you have in combat.
Yeah, exactly like that actually. Like we had a similar concept in Hitman with the enforcers. It's not the exact same thing, but it's related. So you have these NPCs that can see through you because they know the people working there. That's the idea about it. And it helps a lot when you try to create puzzles and setups to.
Beleza,
to
valeu,
challenge
Creed.
the
Valeu aí
player in various ways.
pelo salve, pelo menos, irmão. E boa sorte lá com o Red Dead.
009 most certainly won't.
Career approach, that's one of those fun things where really the base definition is about the player feeling creative when overcoming any given challenge in the
Aí,
game.
ó, a ideia dos
And
caras é
it's
o
really
jogador
easy
se
to
sentir
say
criativo,
that, but it's
quando
really
vem
hard
qualquer
to kind of
tipo de
translate that
desafio.
into what
Mais
what
ou
is the
menos
moment-to-moment gameplay that make you feel creative this way. But from this game, we broke it down into the thing that you need to know that there are different options in the game. If we start violating that trust as developers, the player will forget
Tá
those
legal o
options
volume pra
or not
vocês,
use
quem
them
tiver aí no
because they
galho dá
don't
salve
rely on
pra
them,
mim,
and
por
then it
favor.
becomes much more narrow option space, so you disregard that. Or you get less creative, at least. In
Isso
that
era uma
sense.
coisa que eu já
The last
esperava
thing,
que fosse
and I
ter
think this
mesmo,
is a
cara.
key ingredient that we
E-
also had
e
in
que
our
eu
prior
gostaria que
self-games in
tivesse
Hitman was,
também.
and I coined this as uncertainty in execution. It's really the thing that you know your own options, you see the options in the environment, and you get to that point where you think, okay, I'm gonna try this thing. So it might be throwing the smoke device and try to sneak by. When you get to the other point and get past them, you think to yourself, oh, I did it. It actually worked. The thing I wanted to do, it worked.
That needs a look.
We made games in the past where combat wasn't really the main approach. So now we have a game where we want stealth and combat to be on equal footing. Some of the ways that I think we push it forward is, and this is very gameplay focused, it's in the stealth gameplay actually, where we now have ways to de-escalate situations a lot easier than we've had before. And that happened because we've married some of those bond traits into our stealth mechanics. So for instance, the bluff.
Oi, I need to find Saunders. There's a chance the suspect is dressed as
Isso a
security.
gente já tinha naquele
Bastard could be
Deep Dive,
hiding
né?
right
Mas
under your
tudo bem.
noses.
Eu tinha falado
I'll
isso.
keep an eye out for
Espero que
new
eles mostrem
faces.
mais coisas.
Those are ways to kind of contain a situation, even though you were spotted in a place where you weren't supposed to be. You can talk your way out of it, or you can de-escalate the situation and maintain kind of your stealth status. So that loop in a stealth gameplay setting is something that twists us a little bit away from the normal stealth loops. It feels very good to have that second win or way out at least.
Antique books on display about the castle and local history.
Wonder if you could help me.
I'll certainly try, sir.
Are we ready? All right. Hello, my name is Thomas. I'm a senior level designer on 007 First Light, and I've been at IOI for about 4 years. So in order to highlight the environment, I think we rely a lot on making sure that the player is actually able to see every opportunity at first glance. One of the most important part for us is to be able to give information without the player actually thinking about it. So he just enters the space, look at what he has, and sees the options. And it can be just a railing, it can be two
Olhar
people
para o
talking,
ambiente,
it could
ver
be
as...
some kind
todas
of
as
eavesdrop
possibilidades.
opportunity, but the goal is that we present everything in an impeccable way so that the player can actually glance the options and choose whatever he wants. When we talk about IOI, we say this is a postcard creator, because every time you want to dream about a location, you buy the postcard. And you're like, oh, what is the postcard of Italy? and you will say, oh, it's peace, the tower, right? It's not just showing you this place, it's showing you what you want to be and where you want to be in that space. I think what's interesting with having a young Bond is that it's a almost a new canvas for us and also for players. And usually when you jump into the boots of a new iconic character like this, you are trying to match the energy of that character, and it's very hard to give that to the player right away because players, they just get to discover this character with you. And having a young Bond is perfect because that means you get to understand what Bond will understand at the same time as him. So basically you will try and rehearse at the same time Bond will actually try and rehearse in the game, which matches the energy that we want to give and the story we're trying to tell.
Também traz pouco desse espírito. Eu gosto da ideia. Vamos ver os gadgets.
Oh yeah, the laser, nice.
Of course the laser. Yes. You can't really make Bond gadgets without having the laser.
Nice.
On environmental weak points.
Nice.
Just think about the options. We can disable devices from a distance, put people to sleep from a distance, hack things, smoke bombs, distract. When we get caught in a restricted area, we can use up our instinct to bluff.
Exactly. Think about the options. This is funny because obviously we've been in various stages of development on this project, right? And in some of these stages, also in-house, we've talked about, do you have enough options? What is like? And you had so many options with the games we did prior to this, and it doesn't feel like we have the same. And when you look at them side by side now, Hitman and Bond, you can feel you have a lot more options here. Some of the things that in gameplay make you actually feel like James Bond is some of the things that you know from the movies also. It's unique moments where you see Bond fighting on an airplane wing, for instance. So in those moments you will feel like Bond. On top of that, there's obviously the gadgets, which is a key component of any Bond movie and obviously should be in a game too.
We always started too big by having so many options that it actually becomes very hard to see all of them. And then we just prototype and test and iterate and test, and we end up with a few that we really like. And the rule from every mission and every encounter, rather social or combat, is to make sure the player has at least 3 or more different ways to solve one option and one puzzle or one situation.
But there are some of these iconic things, like the laser. That's iconic, right? So we really wanted that in somehow. So what kind of object does the laser fit on, right? And we also wanted them to distinct from each other. So if we had a thing for the watch, you've seen the watch being the laser in the movies, but we had other things that we also wanted the watch to be, so how can we marry those things, right?
When it comes to gadget, I think the essential part for us was to make sure we provide the players with enough opportunities to use them. If the player wants to test something and use a gadget somewhere, it should behave the way the player thinks it should behave. And I think it was just us having fun and trying to find the best way to have fun with those gadgets. All that in mind with what Bond is and how he should use gadgets. Because we all know Bond in the movies, he always uses the gadgets at the last second for the wrong usage, but it works. And I think we also want to provide that, this kind of uncertainty, but you can still do it.
Oh. Right in the foot, and you see the guy actually go down by the foot.
Yeah, you do. Yeah, dude.
He can climb this, which wasn't that way at all. It actually got knocked down after it got exploded. Look at him yeet the dude, and then kick his shotgun up into his hand.
Oh, no, that's fire.
This is like exactly what James Bond would be doing.
Holy God. But that destruction is what we're talking about.
Isso aí ficou muito legal. Tirar a arma no cara ficou muito bom.
Having been destroyed.
He's grabbing stuff, ramming them, pushing them over their legs.
I love the rushing. The melee combat looks great. It looks quite versatile, and I like
strikes.
that.
The hand-to-hand combat does look kind of neat, not gonna lie.
I'm sorry, I'm very excited.
Nice. Nice. Nice.
The throwing stuff is
Caralho, tu pode usar monte de coisa do cenário, isso é muito foda. Até a bola de bilhar ali, tu pode jogar no cara, velho.
It's about adding all these moves so you can use the environment and you feel you have the range of the tools to do what you want, right? And you see here, you ram into things, you throw things from the environment, you throw people around, over the environment, into the environment, and it's giving you a sense of improvisation, which is really Bond's signature way of doing close combat in this game, at least. Also, what you know from some of the movies. My favorite environment interaction is probably the fire extinguisher. So it was one of these where, okay, I set out a vision at some point where I was saying, okay, we need to use these environment set pieces in close combat, and they need to go off. Even though it's not super realistic, it's just so much fun to have it happen, right? So, and the signature first attempt was the fire extinguisher. So you grab somebody, you throw them into a fire extinguisher, and that fire extinguisher blows up. And it can blow that guy back in your face, or it can blow up other people surrounding him and whatnot. And the instant we tried it, you just laugh out loud. It's like so fun. So now it got all over the place, like with cement bags and scaffolding. Throw people into those, and it blows up. Yeah, you can shoot them in the feet now. We implemented something where we actually register that as not a direct kill. So this is a way to go through our spaces in a way that you don't kill anybody, even though we force combat on you in some specific cases. We make it so you can clear challenges in this way and clear these spaces without technically killing anybody. I recently tested another level where I had a similar sequence. I was shooting somebody and I ran out of bullets, and the most effective thing was to climb up a few stories onto a platform. I did that, but when I got there, I had another NPC in my face, and I punched him, and I needed to take him out fast, so I grabbed him, threw him over the railing, realized I still didn't have a gun, so I jumped after him, took his gun. There was another guy in my face, and I shot him, but I ran out of bullets, so I threw the gun. That took out the guy, and ran to him, took up his weapon, and fought on. And that, it was just, I had to pause the game and put my controller down. I was like, yes, it's actually happening naturally, the flow of events that we set out to do.
I think level design-wise, when we build combat arenas and encounters, the goal for us is to make sure the player has enough options to use all the mechanics we have, so gadgets, guns, and melee. And I think to be able to achieve that, the best way is to provide moment-to-moment and second-to-second options for the player to always be able to move around and always move forward. That's the main thing we try to have, is that the player has to go forward and he has to be able to actually always find options. And that means we're not specifically a cover shooter. We don't want the player to stay and stick to one place. We want him to move around and switch between combat range and also combat melee. And that means also like using all the different things around to provide that. So combat scenarios are pretty different based on the mission and the context, right? So I think we have very guided combat moments where the player is there, everybody knows he's here and he's been seen, and you have to fight your way through like every classic Bond movie. And in that sense, we usually provide forward momentum with like guiding the player towards a very essential and visual element, so that you always know where you need to go and you're not lost, so that you can also focus on the combat mechanics we have, moving forward, going from melee to range, and also trying to find your way through with gadgets.
In our previous games, combat, both range and close combat, was really a last resort for players. So this time around, we knew we had a protagonist that really, in James Bond, that really wanted a good combat experience. So we knew we had to craft that. We wanted it to be dynamic and reactionary and have that improvisation feel, as we know from James Bond as a character. And then I think the ultimate challenge was really the fact that we have these open gameplay spaces where we wanted the player to have total freedom, and you can choose whatever route you want. Do you want to do stealth? Do you want to do close combat or anything in between, right? And for that to actually make sense for the player, we knew we had to craft a combat experience that was on par with the stealth experience. Some of the aspects in range combat in our game that we really wanted to highlight or emphasize on was the feeling of shooting a gun, right? You also need all those base level of functionality and feel that you have from other key shooter games, right? So we wanted that sound experience to be deep and impactful, and we spend a lot of time crafting explosions, right? To have that feel, that feels like a beefy, meaty explosion.
A parte de combate tem uns efeitos de motion blur ali que fica legal pra caramba também.
in 007 First Light feels like a very novel feature that we're doing here. It's something we had to invent for this game, because we have a character now that doesn't really shoot first. You know him as a character that he will use force if he needs to, but he won't shoot somebody who didn't actually shoot first. NPC draws a weapon, fires at you, or wants to really badly fire at you, then we give you a nice kill, and now you're also allowed to draw your weapon and fire at him.
Agora sim, vamos ver se os caras vão trazer conteúdo extra, né, porra? Não adianta só mostrar o que já tá no trailer, aí tem que trazer conteúdo novo, né,
We had to up our game here, and you can't really have a James Bond game without driving, so we had to do something.
Assim, minha dúvida é maior, só vai ter uma missão de veículo aqui, os caras mostrarem? Acho que não, né, porque pra ter um Aston Martin...
Some of these mood driving segments where it's a
Minha
little
dúvida
bit more
também é assim, pô, como é que a gente vai interagir entre as áreas? Vai ser tipo assim, capítulo fechado, ou a gente vai poder, ou vai ter algum tipo de mundo no jogo que tu vai poder ir até alguns locais de carro.
As the James Bond character, and this just adds so much into that bucket of feeling.
That was the first episode of Beyond the Lights. We really hope you enjoyed. If you have any questions, please leave a comment down below, and don't forget you can pre-order the 007 First Light now and get a free deluxe upgrade.
Sim, ó, na Amazon. Já acabou? Os caras não mostraram nada, velho. Pô, sério mesmo que foi pra isso, ô Yoi? Ah, daí vocês cagaram o pau, pô. Ó, daí não, pô. Faz a gente abrir a live assim do nada pra chegar e meter esse doido. Pô, mas que tá bonito, tá aí. É isso?
Bam, we're back, and it's not just me anymore.
Ah, bom. Achei que, porra, achei que tinha acabado.
Want to give yourselves an introduction? You can go first.
I go first?
You're right to my right. Let's start with you.
My name is Thomas.
Não, vai ter. Eu acho que vai ter mais coisa.
And I've been at IO for about 4 years now.
And I'm Andreas. I'm the gameplay director on First Light.
Deixa eu ver aqui o negócio aqui.
And I'm an old IO rat.
Pô, mas botaram uns caras muito desempolgados aqui, cara.
For many years. I think it's around 15, 16 years now, so yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, right.
I'm Gabe. I've not been here that long, but I'm here to hang out. We're here to talk gameplay.
That's what we want.
Because this was our first, I guess we want to call it dev diary. We have a few more plans.
Mais material, velho.
Obviously, we need to talk gameplay first, because we had gameplay a while back. Tons of people have questions about it. We've seen it in chat already. But I do want to start with, we've had a few reveals. We've had characters, we've had gameplay, we've had the initial announcement, the teaser. Do you have one moment that you can like pick out as like, this was fun, I'm really happy we got that out there, or like a favorite moment?
I mean, for me, it's obviously watching the reaction videos, right? And then seeing the reactions to features like sabotaging doors, like that just feels right. And yeah, you can sabotage and lock people in. That's pretty fun. And then obviously the gun throw, which is also fairly novel, which got some good reactions. So that's pretty cool.
The gun throw is a classic. I don't think I've like seen someone react, or not react to the gun throw, because it's just like a moment that catches you kind of off guard. He's just like, what happened there? And just throws the gun. Do you have one?
I guess the Aston Martin. The reveal, like when the sound in the tunnel and everything, and the music. It's crazy. Nice. It was great.
Nice. But we have a few topics we're going to cover today. If you watched the video, which I assume a lot of you did, we started out with creative approach, and creative approach is something I guess IO has worked on for a while. It's kind of baked into IO's history as a studio and everything that's been worked on before. But I'm curious, I guess, from both your perspectives, the past experiences we've obviously taken a lot from. So have we taken like creative approach and this concept of creative approach and whatever we define as creative approach and translated the experience that we have on all the other stuff we worked on into 007? Like how has our experience now come into 007?
I talked about it in the video before this, but I don't know if you want to start out with how you're feeling it.
How do you feel about creative approach?
Translated into this game.
I mean, I didn't work on the Hitmans, right? But I think it's all about like bringing the options. That's always been a thing, right? We wanted to make sure the player has options all along and can check the environment, like observe and do something that he feels like will work, and it usually works if we do it well, right? I think that's what we aim to do. But in terms of like references to Hitman and knowledge, I think it's just being true to IOI's DNA, right? Trying to keep our strength and just repeat them. Of course, it's a different game, but I mean, yeah, you can always try to just reuse the learnings and just make sure you have options in your game. But Hitman has a lot of learnings for sure. Yeah. You know all of these.
By heart, did you say an old IO rat?
I have a list actually, so let me get it through.
Some of the same things I say also in the video, especially that thing about you trying to do something and then seeing if it succeeds, and then it succeeds, and then you feel creative. But the point of it is really, from my point of view at least, is to make the player feel creative doing or solving any specific challenge we put in front of him, right? And that's giving him options first and foremost in the world, as your own toolbox, and then the behaviors of the NPCs, and then letting the player try these things out. And especially that feeling of thinking, oh, maybe I can solve it using this thing, like the smoke device, for instance. And you throw it, and you see if you can sneak by, and you're kind of safe, or you don't know, not sure. Sometimes you're almost being spotted, right? But then you get past them, and you cleared it, and you're like, oh, it worked. I did it my own way, and it worked. And you feel a little bit creative. So.
Because you talked a little bit in the video, especially around like gadgets, but like this idea of like uncertainty and approach, which I think is like, or uncertainty and execution. Like you're like, I have this idea. Yeah. Maybe the gadget will do this in this room full of people, but will it? And then you do it, and you're like, oh, that's kind of cool. And maybe it even didn't do what you expected it to do, right? It did something, or you thought, okay, it's probably going to do this, then I can sneak around here and whatnot. But then you do it, and then it's a bigger explosion maybe than you accounted for, and more reacting to it. And like, okay, what do I do now? And then you kind of play by it or play with it, and then you succeed in another way. But it's an ad hoc solution, but it works out.
Yeah, I think the creative approach is like, it's all about the player testing, right? Like it's creative if it comes from the player, actually. So if you test something and it kind of works or does something else, it's actually when it gets creative, because otherwise you just follow something, right? I think that's what we aim for.
But that's the point, right? We as developers need to put these options in the game, right? So it doesn't work if you are presented with a challenge where you can clearly see there's only one solution, right? We need these multiple different solutions to any given moment-to-moment challenge that we're setting in front of the player. So that's obviously what we are aiming for.
We do have some questions coming in about new gameplay. So just to be clear, this is a dev diary, so we're talking just about the concept of gameplay in 007 First Light. There won't be any new gameplay here. We're gonna set those expectations very early. But we're here talking with two people who know gameplay more than a lot of people in the studio. Maybe not everybody, because I think everybody has different expertises. But I would be hard pressed to find two people that know more about gameplay than you two.
Spend a lot of time.
Thank you. Spend a lot of time on it.
Galera, então assim, cara, assim.
That's
an
interesting question, Zachary. I don't actually know if we're doing something on purpose with the camera lenses. That is definitely a good question, though, for another one of our devs, which we can bring to them.
I'm not an expert on it, but I know we are. It was the aim to do something like this. So it's not surprising that it looks like something where it fits different specific camera lenses.
Eu tenho muita coisa pra fazer, cara, de trampo e tal. Dei uma parada aqui pra cobrir aqui rapidão, tanto que vim todo mulambo assim, falei, cara, eu preciso lá pra cobrir com a galera, não posso deixar passar. Mas realmente não vai ter nenhum tipo de conteúdo novo aqui na cobertura, eu acho que não vale assim a gente prender tanto nosso tempo pra esse bate-papo, que vai falar sobre a abordagem sobre a visão dos desenvolvedores aqui para a parte de gameplay, que é algo que quem acompanhou o meu react ali, a gente fez aqui, já observou muitas coisas que eles já estão falando agora. Enfim.
Pool that's the word I'm looking for.
Então vou encerrar a livezinha aqui por aqui, hoje ultra curta mesmo, mas só pra gente de fato cobrir o... Era pra ter fazer a cobertura aqui do evento do 007, mas a verdade é que não vai ter nada novo, é só diário de bordo, assim.
I love
hoje eu vou passar, tá? Desculpa aí todo mundo, eu volto
You talk about that in the video, just like your favorite interaction being just like...
Mas por hoje é só então, beleza?